Hi Year 11, so here we are the day before your first Science GCSE exam. As you hopefully know, tomorrow morning is Biology Paper 1. And I know you're going to be nervous, but hopefully by the time you finish this PowerPoint, you will be reassured about a few bits of information, reminded about what you need to know, and be prepared for how to get ready for this first exam. Biology Paper 1 covers 4 units: B1 cells, B2 organisation, B3 infection and response, and B4 bioenergetics. Like all the science GCSEs, you'll be expected to answer questions based on the required practicals you did in lesson. Biology Paper 1 has the most required practicals linked to it: microscopy, food tests, osmosis, enzymes, and photosynthesis. Every exam will cover one required practical. In recent years, Biology Paper 1 has covered 2. One as it was delivered in lesson, the other one more applying your knowledge from that practical in a new way. So it's really important that you take the time to study and understand these. All the links to videos showing these required practicals have been given to you on class charts. So if you haven't had an opportunity to look through those yet, or you looked through them a while ago, that might be something you want to look at tonight. Just go back, make sure that you're confident with the content of each of those required practicals. Remember, that's the method, how to interpret the results, any safety procedures that might need to take place, and the name of the equipment that's being used as you go through. Now, when you're nervous for exam, it's really tempting to cram the night before. Stay up all night, read all your notes again, watch all the videos. Please don't do it. It doesn't help. The best thing you can do is make sure that you are well rested and alert, ready to tackle the questions in front of you on the day. The night before an exam, try these following tried and tested simple rules to make sure you are exam ready. I promise you they do help. So as I've said, don't pull an all-nighter. Never. And avoid caffeine before going to bed, because that will help ensure you get a good night's sleep. Get in a workout before 7 p.m. I'm not suggesting a full 90 minutes football match, but half an hour's exercise would be fantastic. Maybe take your dog for a walk. Take frequent breaks from your desk when you are revising, and make sure that you give yourself a cut-off time so you stop thinking about the exam before you go to bed. On the morning of the exam, make sure you're drinking plenty of water and eat a power breakfast, a breakfast that is going to keep you well nourished and your energy high during the course of the exam. Now, the exam board have been really helpful. They've provided a list of key ideas that are going to flow through your exams. And these 4 key ideas are the ones that link to Biology Paper 1. So cells, tissues, organs, organ systems and organisms, the structure of molecules in relation to their function, the fact that all life on Earth depends on photosynthesis to trap energy from the sun, and that glucose can be used as a fuel through cellular respiration. Now, you may notice there's some terms here that link with the physics and the chemistry topics as well. We're talking about molecules, we're talking about equations, we're talking about energy. And yes, you might be expected to follow some of these ideas through in the other exams. Now, over the next few slides, I'm going to focus on one area that links some of these ideas together. There are lots of ways these could be linked together in your exam. This is just one. So I'm going to examine these key ideas by looking at plants. Now, the reason I've chosen plants is because traditionally it's a topic that students avoid revising because plants aren't as interesting as animals, but it's so important because without these plants, we wouldn't be here at all. Plants photosynthesizing harnesses the energy that allows everything else on Earth to survive. So we're going to start off looking at the organisation of a plant, and I'm starting just inside the cell with one of these subcellular structures, in particular the chloroplast, because this is where photosynthesis takes place. Now, the chloroplast is full of loads of chlorophyll which absorb the sunlight for photosynthesis. Now, they're one of several subcellular structures that are found inside the cell. In this case, a palisade cell. Now, the palisade cells are the cells found at the top layer of a leaf, and they're part of mesophyll tissue within that leaf structure. The leaf itself is known as an organ. So in a human body, we would have a heart as an organ. The plant has a leaf as an organ. And the organ system made up of shoots and leaves together, creating an entire organism of the plant, the roots, the shoots and the flowers. Now, the structure of the molecules is related to their function. In this case, the structure of the cells is related to the function. So I wanted to look at two of the plant cells that are really important for this topic. First one is the palisade cell that I mentioned before. It has all the standard things you'd expect to have, and is actually the traditional, this is what a plant cell looks like. So this eukaryotic cell contains a nucleus. It has mitochondria, a cell wall, a cell membrane, cytoplasm, chloroplast and vacuole. And it's important that you know which each of these subcellular structures are and the function of each of them. I've also included the root hair cell. Now, the root hair cell is another plant cell. We can tell it's a plant cell because it has a cell wall and a permanent vacuole. However, it doesn't contain any chloroplast, and that's part of its specialisation. It doesn't need a chloroplast because the root hair of a plant is under soil, there's no sunlight, so it cannot photosynthesize. So when we're looking at the adaptations of a root hair cell, one of the adaptations is it has no chloroplast because it cannot photosynthesize. Another one is to do with this protrusion or the root hair on the side of the cell. That increases the surface area, which increases the places where transfer of water through osmosis or nutrients through active transport can take place into the cell. Now, if we're looking at adaptations for transfer into cells, large surface area is a key factor. It will keep coming up. Key idea number 3 is that all life on Earth depends on photosynthesis to trap energy from the sun. And this diagram shows how that happens. Now we have the leaf, which is a plant organ. We have the top of the leaf is filled of palisade cells, and those palisade cells are jam-packed full of chloroplast. And it's inside the chloroplast where photosynthesis takes place. Now, from your chemistry GCSE, you know that all chemical reactions require an active energy for the reaction to take place. And the light provides the activation energy for this. It's also an endothermic reaction and takes energy in, and the energy taken into this is the light energy. From your physics GCSE, you know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It is only transferred from one form to another. And so in this case, the light energy is transferred to chemical energy, and we'll see that later on in the equation. So going into the plant is water that comes up through the roots via osmosis, so up through the stem of the plant to the leaf through transpiration, and carbon dioxide which comes through the underside of the leaf through the stoma, through the spongy mesophyll layer to the palisade cells. So the palisade cells and the chloroplast within those palisade cells get lots of carbon dioxide and lots of water. The carbon dioxide and water react together in the presence of the sunlight energy and produce glucose and oxygen. Glucose and oxygen have a chemical store of energy, and it's the glucose in particular that will be used later on for respiration, not only in the plants, but in all the animals that eat those plants. It's important that you know the word equation and the symbol equation, and it should be the balanced symbol equation. So the glucose, C6H12O6, you only need one molecule of that, and the other 3 you need 6 molecules, so 6, 6, 6 for balancing the equation. The glucose in photosynthesis takes us to key idea number 4, that glucose can be used as a fuel through cellular respiration. Now, respiration takes place in the mitochondria. Mitochondria is the pink thing shown on this diagram. Now, it's important to remember that bacterial cells and mitochondria are about the same size, so bacteria do not contain mitochondria. So Prokaryotic cells do not contain mitochondria, but eukaryotic cells, such as plants and animal cells, do contain mitochondria and will respire in this way. So respiration takes place in all living cells. For respiration, or for aerobic respiration to take place, you need glucose and oxygen. So glucose and oxygen will go into the mitochondria. A chemical reaction will take place and carbon dioxide and water will be released. Alongside that, energy will be released. This is an exothermic reaction, and this is why the respiration is taking place. So that energy can be provided for chemical reactions, for movement, for temperature control, or any other chemical reactions that need to take place within a cell. When considering respiration, don't forget that we don't always respire aerobically. Sometimes there is not enough oxygen, we're doing too much exercise, and your muscle cells will start to respire anaerobically. When they do this, they convert glucose straight to lactic acid, releasing a small amount of energy. This is far less efficient than aerobic respiration. It also leaves us with an oxygen debt. The lactic acid is built up in your muscle, causing pain and cramping, and needs to be removed. More oxygen needs to be put back into the body to remove that lactic acid. Over the last few weeks, I've had lots of people come and ask me what I think is going to be on the exam this year. Now, I'm in the same position as you. I do not know what will be in the exam. But what I can do is look at what's been in recent papers and come up with a few predictions. So what I've done is I've gone through each of the 4 topics and looked at the required practical, and I've picked my top 2 things that I think will come up. Now, I can guarantee other things will come up on the paper as well, but if I was just going to look through a couple of things this evening, these would be the things that I would look through. The required practical, I think osmosis will come up, and I think an enzyme practical, but I don't think it'll be the strict enzyme practical with the little spotting tiles that you've done for the required practical. I think they will assess your understanding of how enzymes work, looking at a different required practical, one that we've never looked at before. Cells, you need to know about your eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. You need to be able to compare them, you need to be able to identify differences between them, and you need to know your stages of mitosis. You should have all done lots of practice on writing 6-mark questions for this, so go back over your notes, make sure you're happy with the 6 stages that can be described for mitosis, sometimes referred to as the cell cycle. For organisation, I think blood and blood vessels is going to be high on the agenda, and transpiration. Again, it's looking at the plants. They always put some plant questions in because they know lots of students do not want to revise it. For the infection and response topic, protists and vectors, so basically malaria, mosquitoes and how they carry the malaria protist around, could definitely come up. And drug development, what steps have to go through for a drug to be released onto the market. And before bioenergetics, we're looking at anaerobic respiration, exercise and metabolism. Last thing, equipment. I know I say it a lot, but it is so important that you bring a scientific calculator to every single science GCSE exam. You need 2 sharp pencils, a ruler, not a bit of a ruler, but a whole ruler, and 2 black pens. You do not want to be running around in the morning of the exam trying to get this basic equipment together. It's all about little things making the morning of your exam easier. That good night's sleep, that healthy breakfast, knowing the equipment is in your bag ready to go, turning up on time, sitting calmly in the exam and reading the question carefully. You'll be great. Good luck, and I can't wait to see you after the exam.